at today's edition of Helping Seniors Underway. Kerry Fink is off for today. I believe he's in Hawaii, but filling in for him is Jennifer Helin. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, John. How are you today?
Well, we're doing well, and you're looking good. You got a good guest here with you as well.
Excellent guest. Always happy to be here.
Yes. You don't... In talk radio, don't throw me answers or questions I don't know the answers to. So
I noticed John didn't say I was good looking.
Well, I was going to, Bill, but I don't know if the audience would understand that.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. We do have a wonderful guest today with us, the esteemed William A. Johnson, elder attorney, board certified elder attorney, involved in so many things. We were just talking off the air of how many different meetings and organizations, different things that you have your hands into. So Bill really is the expert here in the county of all things elder law related. So very glad to have you here on the show with us. And we'll be talking a little bit about some of the elder law issues as related to some of the things that I come across at Seniors Helping Seniors. So this is Jennifer Helin with Seniors Helping Seniors, but I am sitting in today for Kerry Fink, who is in Hawaii with his lovely wife, Tammy. They are celebrating their anniversary, so well wishes to them on a safe and wonderful holiday. And we'll also be talking a little bit about the new car raffle, the 2021 car raffle that is coming up very quickly in October. So we'll be talking about both those issues. But first, let's welcome William Johnson. Bill, how are you today?
I am doing well, Jennifer. And good afternoon to you.
Good to have you here. So, Bill, we were talking a little bit off air that I'm sure you have beat to death the need for people to have powers of attorney.
I have. We have discussed that a multitude of times on this show.
And that's one of the things that Seniors Helping Seniors, as we go out and do an assessment and sit with the family, we will ask them about that. Do you have power of attorney? Have you done advance directives? While we don't do anything with them, we know that it's important for families to have them. And I will typically pick on not only the parents, but as the kids are sitting around the table, I'll ask the children, because typically they're about my age, 50s, 60s maybe. Do they have their power of attorney? Everyone thinks about wills, but they don't think about any paperwork beyond that.
I do the exact same thing. A lot of times when people don't have a power of attorney or advance directive, we end up having to do guardianships on them, which is where we go to court and have them legally declared incapacitated, and then have usually a family member appointed as a guardian to exercise those rights on behalf of that person. And usually in that process, which costs about $10,000, usually I will look at the kids and said, okay, did we learn the lesson, which is to have a power of attorney and advance directives so you can avoid this whole mess.
Absolutely. And yes, he did say 10,000, so that is a great idea to get that done ahead of time so that you are not facing court, not facing that cost.
Very true. And if you've been putting it off, waiting for that big event to happen, I will tell you the big event is happening. And we are having to run to hospitals, nursing homes, doing guardianships on people who are ill from COVID and just still haven't done any sort of planning.
It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. And we were also talking, I have two seniors that are going to be moving. One of them is they're going to come down and retire from Missouri. So they're moving states. They've got their paperwork, but because they're moving to a different state, Bill, what do they need to know?
Well, first off, Florida has statutes that basically say if your documents were valid in the state you're moving from, meaning they were validly executed in Missouri, in your example, then they will be valid in Florida. And there is a statute that is in the will statute. There's one that's in the trust statute. There's one in the advance directive statute. And there's another one in the power of attorney statute. And The thing with it, however, is that Florida could interpret the documents differently. That's especially true with a durable power of attorney. There is a statute in Florida that says if you specifically don't give somebody a power, they don't have it. So our power of attorneys tend to be about 15 pages of boilerplate because we want to specifically give the agent all these powers because they may need to do all kinds of things. Sign tax returns, sell houses, apply for public benefits, all kinds of things like that. So we want to have them have the ability to do all those things. So if you come from a state that has what they call a short form, where you just check off a box that says real estate transactions, that will not work in Florida because you haven't given the power to sell, transfer, convey the real estate. And so the more specific, the better when it comes to power of attorneys in Florida. So even though we will accept them, we may interpret them differently. So if you move here from another state, it's always good to have your documents reviewed.
So good idea, good advice. Now, also, one of the things that I do hear when people, I'm sitting down at the kitchen table, they'll say, oh, yes, I've got my power of attorney. I did that years ago. Well, about how long ago? That was probably 20 or 30 years ago when we did our trust. They did it maybe when they were 60 and retiring, and now we're 85, 90. Would you advise having that looked at again? About what time, how long would you say, something can go before you'd say, oh, that probably needs to be looked at again?
The general rule of thumb is about 5 years. So you should have them reviewed every 5 years. You should also have them reviewed if there is a major life event, like a marriage, a birth, a death, something of that nature, so that they can be updated. A divorce would follow in there too. But with power of attorneys, there were significant law changes in 1995, and so ones that were done prior to that need to be redone. There were other law changes in 2011. So they do change the law. They don't change the law that much when it comes with regard to wills and trusts because people want certainty. But with some of the other documents, the laws have definitely changed.
All right. So definitely every 5 years have them looked at just to make sure that they are up to date and everything is good. Now, something that you just said made me think of another question, and this is something that I would have never thought about until I've been in the senior industry. You mentioned marriage and divorce, and a number of times with clients we have seen it's a second or third marriage. People have gotten married, they've got adult children, but they've gotten married maybe in their 70s, even 80s, and we've got two separate families.
Right.
Do you ever work with prenuptials for seniors?
We do. We definitely do. We work on those. There are certain rights in Florida that you have as a spouse. One is the Homestead Laws. In Florida, we have 3 types of homestead, but the one I'm talking to is that even though your name may be the only name on the deed to the homestead, that does not mean you can transfer it or even when you die, give it to anyone other than your spouse. Because the Florida Constitution kicks in and gives the spouse what they call a life estate in the homestead. So there is some laws that protect a spouse in the event they don't inherit the house outright. And then there is something called the elective share. Even if I were to leave everything to my kids, my spouse could still file an elective share claim, which is equal to 30% of the value of all the assets that pass by virtue of my death. So those are 2 big things that people don't know about. A few years back, I gave a seminar about the implications of having a second marriage. And when I mentioned those two things, you could see jaws drop in the audience because
I'm sure
people didn't realize that.
John, do you have something to add in there about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, Bill Johnson, that you bring up as far as Bill, the elective chair, as you call it, and as the law calls it. And does that apply to all aspects of a husband and wife if one precedes the other in death?
It does. So, say I have children from a prior marriage, I get remarried, and my spouse has children from a prior marriage, and we have this handshake agreement that I'm going to leave my assets to my kids, and she's going to leave her assets to her kids. I die with $1 million. She can go to the courthouse and file what's called an elective share claim for 30%. And then what we do is we have to file an inventory of all the assets that passed, life insurance, IRAs, 401ks, bank accounts, real estate. And we come up with an inventory of what those assets are, and then we calculate what 30% of that is. And then in the statute, it says where that 30% gets paid from. First, it gets paid from life insurance proceeds, and there's a whole laundry list.
So even then, if the husband or the wife willed to his or her children the house, the business, or whatever, that elective share can still kick in where the surviving spouse can receive 30% of all of those assets?
Correct.
Interesting. Okay.
So and basically the homestead and elective share are meant to protect spouses. Back in the old days, I'd probably say, woman, you better behave, or, I'm going to leave the house and everything I got to my cousin, and you and the kids will be in the street. Well, you can't do that. The Florida Constitution comes in and protects spouses. So the elective share is not automatic. Homestead is automatic.
All right, now what about the children? Can they file for that elective share as well?
They cannot. That's only for the spouse.
Okay, only the spouse. All right.
Yeah.
But you can see, John, where the kids would get involved and maybe start fighting, especially if, say the woman that Dad has married in his 70s, the kids don't really like. And you can see how the family dynamics can get pretty heated over finances pretty quickly, and why having that prenup would be a great idea. And
that's exactly the fact pattern that gives rise to it. And usually the fact pattern runs something like this. I get remarried, my spouse, my kids don't get along, and then I get sick. And my spouse takes care of me, and I die, and my kids never showed up or never helped. And my spouse goes, you know what, those dirty, rotten kids, they don't deserve all that money. I'm going to take 30% for all the effort I did in caring. And whether you think that's right or not is irrelevant. I'm just here to tell you that you can do that.
So if we're dealing with an estate that has to make the math easy for me, if you're dealing with a $1 million price tag on that estate, the surviving spouse can get, as you said, Bill Johnson, 30% or $300,000.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, they include in that now the value of whatever rights the spouse has in the homestead. So if the house was just in my name and I was going to leave that directly to my kids, and the Constitution kicks in, gives my spouse a life estate in the house, that has a value because now they've changed the statute where that life estate can be converted to a 1/2 interest. And so basically my spouse would own 1/2 of the house with my kids. And that 1/2 counts towards that 30%. So if I had a $300,000 house, one half of that would be $150,000. So my spouse would not only get the one half interest in the house, but she'd get plus another $150,000.
How about when it comes to a business? If the spouse who died had a business, does that automatically transfer over to the survivor, or how does that work?
When you talk about businesses, you have to look at what kind of business entity you have. Do you have a corporation, an LLC? Do you have a partnership? So all those different entities, and most people either have an LLC or a subchapter S corporation, and those are governed by who owns the company. So you got to look at the stock certificates. And are the stock certificates in both names? If they're both names with joint title, right of survivorship, it would automatically pass to the spouse.
Yeah, I see.
If, it could be owned by the trust. Or it could, have a transfer on death clause on the stock certificates. But if it's just in the one person's name and they pass, then it's going to pass per the will and go through probate.
I got you. Okay.
So you can see how this is not an easy discussion, but it's something that needs to happen. I'm old-fashioned, John, so I would have always said I don't believe in prenups. The stars do that because they know they're going to get divorced. But I don't believe in a prenuptial agreement. However, now that I've been in the senior industry for a while, I absolutely believe that is something that should be discussed beforehand so everyone knows exactly what's happening, and it would limit, hopefully, the fighting between the kids and make it cut and dried when something does happen to either of the spouses, that they know what's going to happen and that they are comfortable with what is going to happen. There's no surprises.
I have litigated several cases where the kids urged their parent to get a prenup, and for whatever reason, at least in the cases I was involved in, we argued undue influence that wasn't done, and subsequently it ended up in litigation between the spouse and the kids. In one case, they even had made the appointment before the marriage to go to the attorney's office to get it done, and then the prospective spouse moved the wedding up.
Interesting. Wow.
And kind of defeated what the kids were attempting to do. So you run into all kinds of things. But, the only way to get around the homestead and the elective share is to do a pre or a post-nuptial agreement.
So, for a lot of our seniors, who are old-fashioned and would think that that's not something that they would be right to do, actually it is something that they really should be thinking about, should do for their own sake, for their kids' sake, and for their spouse's sake, for the new spouse.
And not just to talk about money, but also talk about who is going to be in charge of you if you become incapacitated.
Exactly.
Who is going to make your medical decisions? Is it going to be your kids who've known you for your whole life? Or is it going to be your new spouse that you've been married to for 6 months? That may be a hard choice.
That would be a hard choice for a lot of people, Bill, and it seems like these type of situations, as I'm sure you've seen over the years, really throw a family into the eye of the storm and can take a good family, a loving family, and make them the Hatfields and the McCoys.
And, as you know, as I've talked on this show many times, a lot of Americans do not have retirement security. We've done pretty much away with pensions in this country. And then I think it's 75% of 401ks are underfunded. So these kids are looking at that inheritance as their retirement security. And then when somebody shows up and God forbid falls in love with their parent, all of a sudden that is all threatened, and that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it sure is. I can see that.
It is, unfortunately. I've told my parents that they can really spend my inheritance. I'm okay with that.
Yep. Yeah.
They earned it, and have fun with it.
Well, that would be, there's actually an author who wrote a whole book on that called Die Broke. It means the day you die, you should be completely flat broke.
Well, Bill, what about putting everything into a trust? Couldn't you just do it that way?
Well, remember, the elective share law and the homestead law applies even if the property's in a trust. Which was interesting because when they did the elective share law, initially it only applied to assets that went through probate. And then there were some severe problems. You could imagine if I meet a young woman who's getting alimony, okay?
Right.
And I say, I'll take care of you for the rest of your life, and we get married. She loses her alimony, and then I put all my assets in a trust to get around the elective share. We're having some really bad results. So they expanded, they call it the augmented elective share, to include non-probate assets now. Because a lot of assets are in IRAs, 401ks that don't go through probate. So now it includes all assets that pass by virtue of your death.
So there are a number of ways in which that can be worked around, but it sounds like this elective share that you're talking about, Bill Johnson, in many respects solves some of the problems, but maybe it also creates just as many, right?
It can,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So definitely things to be thinking about, and another reason why you would want to call Bill Johnson. And Bill Johnson, how can people get a hold of you?
They can call us at our office at 321-253-1667.
All right. Well, we're going to take a little bit of break now. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about helping seniors, what our mission is, and how you can help support the mission of Helping Seniors of Brevard County.
We're on 90.3 FM. You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard, heard every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock. Let's get back to more of the show. Once again, here's Jennifer.
Thank you, John. Again, this is Jennifer Helin, Helping Seniors of Brevard County. And I wanted to thank some of our supporters of Helping Seniors who've been with us. They're part of our Senior Services Directory, which you can find nestled into our Helping Seniors newsletter each month in Senior Scene magazine. People like William Johnson, but also Concierge Medical Equipment. Go see Sean Parker. We've also got Debbie Beard, Next Chapter Real Estate. We've got Hibiscus Court, Zon Beachside, some wonderful assisted living facilities who can help seniors. Medicare providers, if you need a scooter, if you need elder attorneys, if you need some appliance repair, there are people who are vetted that will help you in the Helping Seniors of Brevard Senior Services Directory. And one of the other ways that we help people is we run a senior helpline. And Kim is standing by if someone has a question about anything senior related. We keep a lot of resources on hand that a senior might need, questions about elder law, about real estate, where to go to get a ramp, to get grab bars. That would actually be Aging Matters. Here in Brevard County, Aging Matters has a home improvement safety program that we often refer to if you need help with grab bars. Just read an article today that Aging Matters is also looking for volunteers, the retired volunteer program to help with a number of different programs that they do, but specifically a shout out to the Seniors at Lunch, or not the Seniors at Lunch. They run that program as well, but Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels does need volunteers here in Brevard County, and especially specific areas of the county. So please call Aging Matters if you have some time and would love to help a senior. Make sure that they get a hot and nutritious meal at lunchtime.
The one thing I might add about the helpline is if Kim doesn't know the answer, she will go find it for you. And she has many resources available to go do that. I've fielded a lot of phone calls myself about different topics, and there's a whole bevy of other people out there who can answer just about any question, or at least get you an answer or point you in the right direction.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that, Bill. It's almost like having a friend in the business. You know, if you have a medical problem and you have a nurse in the family, you call that nurse to say, hey, what is the real issue here? What do I need to do? Well, it's almost like having that friend in the senior business that you can call, talk to Kim, and she will, you're right, make sure that you get the right resource for the problem, follow up with you to make sure that it has happened.
Which is a lot different than a lot of helplines. A lot of helplines you call, and if your question doesn't fit into their succinct categories, they just kind of say, oh, well, I don't know what to tell you, or, you know, but Kim will actually go find the answer for you.
Yes, John?
Bill, we were talking in the last half hour about some of the interesting cases and the ways in which spouses leave their inheritance to their kids, and the surviving spouse can pick up 30% of that if they're not in the will, right? What about these online legal services? How do they apply? Are they something that can cause more problems than they solve? What's your thought and theory on those?
Well, this is a perfect example of, if you don't know about Florida's Homestead Law and you don't know about the elective share law, how if you did an online will, it may really come back to bite you. So, you know, that is not something that the online service is going to spend any sort of time educating you about. So, you know, that's one issue, is there's a lot of different laws. You know, a great example is Susie Orman. You know who she is. She's the one on CNBC, and she's got a whole series of books on estate planning, and she's like, well, you do this, and this. Well, yeah, but that doesn't work in Florida because of our Constitution and how it applies to houses and trusts. So, you know, I'm reading her book going, well, that's not exactly true. It may be true in other states. So you really need Florida-specific knowledge when it comes to that. The other thing is, when people come in with those documents, about 50% of the time, they're executed wrong. And I'm not making that up. I'm not trying to embellish, but half the time, I've had people come in, they sign their will, they thought the witnesses were optional. Okay? And then I've seen them where they signed their will, and one of the witnesses signed the will a day later, and then the other one signed it like 2 days later. Well, that doesn't work either. You have to all be in the same room, watch each other sign at the same time. So, and then the notary is usually, you know, like 4 days later.
So these online legal services can really cause problems. And if a person went into Office Depot to get a will off of the shelf in Office Depot, that creates even more problems. They think they've done it all right, and legally they're in good shape and they've saved thousands of dollars, when in reality they're probably opening the door to many thousands of dollars in trying to correct what was done wrong.
I'll give you a perfect example. A gentleman tried to do a do-it-at-home will, and he said, I got these accounts, and I'm going to leave it to these specific people. He never put in the will a remainder clause, which says, besides these accounts, if there's anything else, it'll go to these one or two people. Well, he died. So since there's no remainder clause, anything else now gets distributed to 18 different people. And it actually is a piece of property he forgot about.
Wow.
So he owned a piece of property he forgot about. Now, the intestate, because he wasn't married, says it goes out to his brothers and sisters. Well, half of them were deceased, and then their share goes to their children. So it's his, nieces and nephews, and it's a mess. And then trying to track down who all these people are, where they live, and notify them, and get consents to get the thing off the ground.
So it's really kind of a wicked web that is woven here, in which people think that they're going to do all of their legal deeds done on the cheap, thinking they're doing it right, when in reality, stay clear of that, because it's going to create problems.
Well, if it's done right, I'd rather have somebody have a document than not have a document. So, that's the benefit of this, is it allows access to the legal system for people who may not be able to hire an attorney or afford an attorney. But in the same breath, you got to read the instructions and follow the instructions.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just ad lib and make it up as they go.
Yeah, there are so many aspects that people are totally unaware of, and that's why an elder law attorney such as yourself comes into play. And Jennifer, it really makes a lot of sense getting the services of someone like Bill Johnson.
It really does. The old adage comes to mind that you get what you pay for. So I agree with Bill. If something is better than nothing, but if you have some assets and you really want to be able to direct them where you want them to go, it would be a good idea to sit down with an elder attorney in your state that knows what they're talking about, because there's a lot of little intricacies that we don't know about.
Well,
the average person has no idea.
Every state is different then, Bill, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's good in Florida is not good in Georgia and whatever.
Right. They may not have the same homestead and elective share law that we have. So it does vary.
Right. So those boilerplate, do-it-at-home wills are probably not the best thing to have.
Well, Bill, it begs the question then, as an elder law attorney, do you specialize only in Florida, or do you have to know a little bit about every state in the union?
I specialize in Florida. There are attorneys here locally in town who are licensed in more than one state. But you still, one of the things you learn in law school is how all the, kind of states vary. You don't learn specifically, because it'd be hard to memorize the laws of all 50 states. But, for example, California is a common law, community property state, whereas Florida is not. So, and knowing what community property means and how that affects estate planning and that kind of thing, we have a general understanding, but I'm certainly not up on community property as good as a California attorney.
So when you're dealing with someone here in Florida that also has dealings in California, as you mentioned, do you have to reach out yourself to a California attorney to help you out?
I do, and we do that quite often. If I do a trust, for somebody who's a Florida resident, but they own property in other states, I'm not licensed in those other states.
Right.
So we have to reach out to attorneys in those states to prepare the deeds to put those properties into the trust.
How does that work out as far as the fees involved?
Well, we just put our client in contact with let them pick whoever they want.
I got you.
And then we'll send the documents to them and work with them.
I got you. Okay, that makes sense. But again, so much to to be aware of, and so the average person is not aware of all of the things that you've mentioned here on the show.
A great example to your question is, I just almost had a trial on a case involving oil and gas leases. Well, what does a Florida attorney know about oil and gas leases? Yeah. We just simply don't have that here.
Right.
So, that's why we have to rely on the expertise of people in other states, because there are unique situations like that we never deal with.
Yeah, so it's behooving upon an elder law attorney to know where the other good elder law attorneys are throughout the country, and for you to be able to deal with them directly, or as you said, Bill, turn the client on to them or someone of their choosing in that other state.
And luckily, there's an organization that does that, the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that existed. We've never talked about that. NAELA.org. And that organization specifically does what?
It is the National Association of Elder Law Attorneys. It's our national group. There is also a Academy of Florida Elder Law Attorneys, too.
Is the elder law attorney business, is that due to the baby boomer generation? Is that really becoming big, up and coming?
I think elder law really got its serious kick when life expectancy started going longer and longer. Mm-hmm. Because that's when a lot of the issues we deal with in elder law are happening, that we have people living into their 80s, 90s, 100s, and we have to worry about long-term care, guardianships, all those things. So it's kind of like a estate planning plus, so to speak,
right.
Because we have to deal with all these other issues that come along with an aging population.
When you started out as a young Bill Johnson in law school, did you specifically know you were going into elder law?
Oh, I did not, no.
How did you get into it?
I got into it because when I opened my practice, I started, one of the areas I worked in was estate planning. And I did estate planning, real property, family law, and some corporate law. And then I narrowed it down. I got rid of family as fast as I could and narrowed it down to real property and estate planning. And I really liked estate planning, so I kind of focused in on that. And then they changed some of the estate tax code, which made it not so much necessary for people to get trusts done. And I kind of figured out on my own that I would be at the whim of Congress, mm-hmm. As far as the business model, so I better expand out a little further from estate planning. And that's when I got into estate planning, probate, guardianship, and Medicaid and VA benefits.
Well, if I recall, here in Brevard County, you were, Bill Johnson, one of the first to start specializing in elder law many years ago.
Yeah, there was one other attorney ahead of me. But I was the second board-certified one.
Okay, you were the second, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that goes back a while.
Yeah, it does. I think I'm on my third rotation, which we have to get recertified every 5 years. So I've been...
So at least 15.
Well, I'm in the middle of the third one, so I think it's probably 12 or 13 years I've been board-certified.
So you've seen a lot of cases in that 12 or 13-year period of time, and you certainly can give some good advice to people who don't know where to turn and what to do. And Bill Johnson, as we've been saying here, Jennifer Helin, the second, when I say second oldest, I'm not talking about in terms of life, but second oldest elder law attorney here in Brevard County, and that speaks volumes as far as what Bill has been able to do here in Brevard County, and certainly one of the most respected. So at the end of the show here, Helen, Jennifer, we want to make sure that we get Bill's phone number again.
Absolutely. Yes. So not in age, but experience. Lots of experience.
Right.
And best looking. Don't forget that.
And that is, going back to you don't know what you don't know, and that's one of the reasons why Joe Steckler started helping seniors of Brevard County, because he wanted people to have an aging plan. He wanted people to look past planning for retirement, but planning on what 70, 80, 90 looked like, and to have the information to do that. So that's why we have people like Bill Johnson on, so that you can be thinking about some of these matters and making plans to see an elder attorney to get your paperwork in order, but also to have maybe home care, thinking about home care, thinking about assisted living, thinking about what that looks like for you personally, where you want to be. Do you want to be at home? Do you want to be in assisted living? And having that plan in place beforehand so that you are in charge of making those decisions and that someone else is not making those decisions for you. So that's our goal here at Helping Seniors. And in order to help us continue that mission, we have a big fundraiser coming up. The 2021 Muscle Car Museum Grand Drawing is going to be in October. And Bill, you've been there before. How do you like the museum?
That place is fantastic. Fantastic.
It's an amazing place to walk around.
And the only way you can get there is through a charity event.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's not open to the public day in, day out. So if you want to go in there and see the absolutely fabulous car collection, you need to get out and buy your Helping Seniors raffle ticket.
I think, Jennifer, there are over, 300 cars there?
Oh, gosh, there's probably even more than that. I know the foyer itself is $6 million in cars, just the foyer. And then you go into the back. And because I'm always working the event, I was never able to actually make it all the way around. I think it's 2 football fields full of cars. And he's added. Now, last year we were not able to have the event because of COVID. But they did allow us to go in and do some spots. And it was the very first time I've gotten all the way around the museum. And that was fascinating to listen to Ed talk about the history of each of the cars, not only where they came from, but maybe the dealerships and the local dealerships that provided some of these cars, where they found some of these things, and how they brought them back to life, and then how they keep them in tip-top shape.
And not only is it 2 football fields, but now they're actually having to stack them on top of each other. Yeah. They're going to, double-decker. Which is just amazing.
It's really amazing, absolutely. I think it's one of the largest in the country. Jay Leno out in California, who has a converted airplane hangar. I don't know if he has this many cars, but nonetheless, it's a sight to be seen. Speaking of car dealerships and the history on some of them, you know how Chevrolet used to award car dealerships? Whoever won the Indianapolis 500 would receive a Chevy car dealership. And that's how Jim Rathman, you remember that dealership? That's how he got his dealership.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
He won the Indy 500, I believe, in 1960. Yeah, I believe it was 1960. And Chevrolet used to give out dealerships to whoever won.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to be giving away a dealership, unfortunately, John, but we will be giving away a car that day. You have a choice. The winner gets to choose from a Dodge Challenger, a Mazda Miata, a Chevy Camaro, and a Kia Sportage. Now, Bill, if you're the winner, which car do you think you're going to choose?
Probably the Challenger.
Oh, good answer, good answer. I'm Team Dodge.
That was my choice as well.
Yes, it's a wonderful car. I got to drive it last weekend because we were out at a car show. So I had to take it home Friday night and put it in my garage. It looked really good in my garage, by the way.
It just fit perfectly in there.
Actually, I had to kind of park it sideways because I have a little Mini Cooper. So I can put a few things in my garage because I can fit that little Mini in. But that Challenger had to go sideways.
Yeah, it's a beautiful car. I drove it last year and didn't want to give it up. It's quite a car, and with the package that it comes with, it's pretty special.
And you're allowed to upgrade. So you win the base model, but I know last year's winner did a few upgrades. They chose the Camaro. We'll forgive them for that, but they ended up getting a convertible.
Too. Yeah, that's a good car. A convertible Camaro, that looks hot.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
They did a really nice job with it. It's absolutely beautiful. So you can buy tickets. You can go on the Helping Seniors website, www.helpingseniors.brevard.org, helpingseniors.carraffle.com. You can stop by Bill Johnson's office. I bet he has tickets.
We do.
You can stop by our Seniors Helping Seniors office. I always have tickets in the office. I have a little side hustle with Joe Steckler. We have a bet to see who sells the most tickets. He always wins, but I'm trying. But your ticket this year not only gets you into the night of the event, but because we were not able to go last year, we'll be hosting a make good date for the 2020 drawing on September 12th. It's a Sunday at the museum, Sunday afternoon at the museum from 1 to 4.
Sounds like a movie or something.
It does.
Yeah.
So you can get a ticket for this year's drawing, but it will also let you in on Sunday, and it will let you in for the grand drawing on October 9th, Saturday evening. Saturday evening will be a wonderful event with food, beverages. You get to walk around, look at all of those cars, and then the grand drawing will be, the winner will be pulled that evening.
Will they be selling tickets outside at September 12th?
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. They'll be selling tickets the Sunday at the museum and also the night of the event. So if you want to buy a last-minute ticket, I know 3 years ago, one of the ladies that works with Senior Scene magazine came as a volunteer, and she said, while I'm here, can I buy a ticket? I said, absolutely. You go up front, you get your ticket, and sure enough, that night she was the winner. They won tickets the night of the event, and she was the grand prize winner.
So magic does happen.
It does.
It happened that night.
And it could happen to you, but you've got to be in it to win it, as Carrie Fink says. So make sure that you do get your car raffle ticket and come out and see us September 12th. And that could be this year's ticket, or it could be last year's ticket, the 2020 makeup date, September 12th, 1 to 4 at the Muscle Car Museum.
Make sure you buy it from Jennifer. She's good luck.
There you go. I hope so. And then make sure that you join us the night of the grand drawing on October 9th from 6 to 9. Before we wrap up, I want to thank Bill Johnson again for coming out and talking with us. And again, Bill, how can people get a hold of you?
They can call us at our office at 321-253-1667 or go to our website, which is floridaelderlaw.net.
Very good. And if you need a little bit of home care, please give us a call at Seniors Helping Seniors. Our phone number is 321-722-2999. We would love to hear from you. And on behalf of Helping Seniors of Brevard County, Joe Steckler, and all of our sponsors, thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate all that you do to help our seniors.